This is Peninsula, a map designed by my good friend Colonel Failure. It's big, it's beautiful, and it is brutal. Can I conquer the crags, vanquish the valleys, and pound the peninsula into submission? This video is brought to you by me and my official merch store, where you can now pick up a whole range of new items with my brand new logo. Check out the link in the video description. In this episode, we are going to put in a port, specifically an oil terminal that's going to be receiving offshore oil. Oh yes. Our mission, if we choose to accept it, is to build this and make it look good. So yeah, we're going to have a town going in associated with the port. Now this is going to be Crystal Cove. There's going to be a dock down here. There's going to be another dock over here, which is the dock for the town. The oil terminal will be here. And then, if that wasn't enough, we've got to somehow build a cliffside railway, which is going to take the oil all the way up here to Hamilton and the huge transport hub that we built in the last episode. Yeah, so yeah, this is going to be challenging, to say the least. And we're actually going to start way out here. Now, I've got one of my subs, Nick, shout out to Nick, is working on an asset, which he's actually now got working, which is a working offshore oil rig. And eventually, I'm going to have some offshore oil rigs here, which will be providing the oil. But until then, we're going to put in a sneaky little hidden offshore oil production facility. And this idea of an offshore oil thing providing oil to an onshore terminal is an idea that I've had floating around for quite a while. And yeah, I was kind of pumped to see if I could actually make this happen. But I knew that with the terrain, trying to get a port in that area to look good was really gonna be a challenge. So this bit's not meant to be seen. So this is going to be very rough and ready, and it's just a case of like throwing a port, throwing some oil producers, some oil wells, and that's it. That's all that's going to be. And it's not meant to be seen. It's just going to be off there. We're just going to see the ships coming in from out at sea where they've collected the oil, presumably from oil rigs, which are coming. Come on, get to work, Nick. Yeah, and then this is Crystal Cove, and as you can see, the mountains. Oh, the mountains are tough. The mountains are tough. It's going to be very, very difficult because I'm going to have such steep sides on this. It's going to be very difficult to make the terrain look good without like over flattening everything. So. Yeah, that was the challenge. But it was the challenge that I was prepared to accept. Yeah, how much did I regret that? Well, you'll see as we go along. But yeah, the final result, was the final result good? Well, only you can decide. Well, that's not really true because I can make up my own mind. But I mean, in your mind, you're the only one that can decide. So. I threw in this dock. It's like an L-shaped dock, and the idea was that we'd have one side of the dock being the sea wall. So this is the sea wall going in now, and this is one of my favourite little tricks, is to throw in a bit of a wall, and then whack on some riprap, and that is a word that we just do not get to say often enough. So the riprap is. Just constructed of rocks, and this is something you see all the time on the coast. If you go down the coast, you'll often see rip-rap walls, and they just stack up loads of boulders. It's not particularly clever, but by God, it does look good. And that turned into a real feature. You'll see, like after the time lapse, I'll show you. How things turned out, and I spent a lot of time working on that. This entire build, the time lapse is 5.5 hours, condensed into like less than 10 minutes, and then I spent something like another 15 to 20 hours on it. And after the time lapse, I was really worried about whether I would be able to come up with something which was interesting enough. And yeah, I fretted and worried about it, but I kept going and kept going and kept going, and eventually I think I beat the mission that was assigned at the beginning of this. Yeah, you make up your own mind, obviously, but I think we've got some nice features in there, and I think it looks good. It's a place that I would be very happy to live, frankly, by the coast, watch all the ships coming in and all that kind of stuff, all the sailboats. We've got sailboats. Oh yeah, we've got sailboats. You can look forward to that coming up. So this is the passenger harbour going in now, and I wanted this. I wanted this to be a feature, but I didn't want it to look kind of large and industrial. I wanted it to look kind of a bit, a bit rural and, kind of befitting of a small coastal town, almost a coastal village, really. This isn't going to be a big place. So then it was time to kind of make some room for the actual town itself to go in. And so I went for a tiered approach, and this is something that on the Peninsula map you're going to see time and again, because it's really the only way to do it with these brutal terrain heights and all the cliffs and everything. So it was a case of try and get a few tiers, and then have a bit of a road winding up there, so that when I put in the town, we've already got like the basis of a road network, so that the game doesn't build something completely horrible and crazy. So we've got this windy road going up, but you can see there's really not a lot of room here. This is not going to be a big place, and I eventually decided to expand the town up onto the top level, right above the cliff, and that gave me all kinds of headaches, because it was then I'd got this really steep cliff, which to be honest was not a particularly good looking cliff, and you'll see as I start to smooth this off, it's not looking great. It's just this big grey formless mass, which is not aesthetically pleasing at all. And yeah, this was kind of where my concern was at its height. I was thinking, I don't know if I can make this look good. It's going to be very tricky. Now, getting the railways to work was an issue. So I threw in a little helix here. The problem is the helix is almost entirely buried in the cliff, and so you will see after the time lapse that I reworked this to take advantage of this little area that we're coming across now. Where I'm bridging across now, that I realised is a kind of a natural bowl area. So I thought, I wonder if I can do something helixy there, and I did, and it solved a problem for me. And the problem is the problem that I'm creating right now. Putting this railway across this cliff seemed like a good idea at the time, but frankly, it wasn't. It wasn't a good idea then, and it still isn't a good idea, which is why that railway route up to this point, right, it goes away. You'll see what happens to it. But this I particularly liked. I started creating these what I nicknamed pleasing V's. Now these pleasing V's are kind of little viaducts on the cliff side, but they're all V-shaped, and the V-shapes are very pleasing on the eye, or at least they're very pleasing to my eye. So I ended up putting in blooming loads of these. I kind of went a little bit to town on creating these pleasing V's, but in the end I kept some of them, but a lot of them actually got reworked, as you will shortly see. And now this took to get this line in all the way up to Hamilton to hook up to the freight yard, took on the stream, I'm guessing it was like an hour. I think it was more than an hour. I think it was more like an hour and a half. Somewhere between an hour and a half, something like that. And was it fun? Yeah, it was fun. It was fun putting it in. But for the purposes of this, it's kind of repetitive because it is literally about just running the railway along the cliffs, trying to create as many tunnels or interesting tunnels and bridges as I can along the way, and more of these lovely little pleasing V's, and there are loads of them. But as you can imagine, we've got to go all the way up here, all the way up to hook up to that. Now I subsequently have added in more things along the way, but for now that's it. And we're going to finish this off by doing two things. The first is to put in a railway station. Now I thought that since the railway goes in that direction up towards Hamilton, that the station should point in that direction, but that actually changed, as you'll see, for good reason. And then the final thing we've got to do, which is kind of the triumphant ta-da moment, is to add the town. So, boom. So at the end of a 5.5 hour stream, this is what we ended up with. And I have to say, I wasn't really feeling it at this moment. I thought we had the basis of something, but I mean the cliffs were all not looking particularly nice. The basic layout of the port and the town I was kind of happy with, but it needed a ton more work, and it needed some features, it needed some points of interest to kind of bring it to life. So after something like another 15 to 20 hours of work, this is what it looks like now. Oh, I enjoyed that. I enjoyed that little montage. And that is Crystal Cove. There you go. We're up on the top level, and as you can see, there's still a bit of space up here for the town to grow a little bit, because we're only shipping one product in at the moment. We're only shipping fuel in. Once we start shipping food in here as well, which is the other thing that it needs, let me turn on the HUD. Once we get some food coming in here as well and get another kind of 100% growth, then yeah, this will fill all this in very nicely, and it'll be just the right size. And I think it's going to grow even further than that as we add more potential destinations. So yeah, this is the top is going to look much better than it does now. It's a little bit sparse at the moment, but if we look down at the main part of the town, and yeah, it's nice. It's nice. I've got to say, I do love this little sailboat that I found, and this is operating on a little passenger line. These little sailboats. Love those. The dock, obviously, I think the highlight of the dock is the oil terminal that I've put in, but I love the lighthouse. I think that lighthouse is awesome. Just fits beautifully on the end of the dock, on the end of the seawall. So the oil refinery, yeah, the oil refinery is just these oil tanks connected together with like all this pipe work, and I think that ended up looking very effective. I like that. Obviously a few little assets in here, a few ships here and there. We've got the nice big schooner anchored in the bay, in the cove. Loving that. Over here, to finish off the nautical stuff, added a few assets, all these boats lined up at the docks. I added in all these docks, and I think that looks so much better than it did. It looked too bland, too bare before, and now, yeah, loving it, loving it. The station, I just modified the station slightly. I put in this retaining wall behind it, took out the station on that side of the platform on the other side, because it really doesn't need it. And we've got some buses running around here, taking people from down at the bottom all the way up to here, and then of course they can catch this this passenger train up to the top level. And in actual fact, perfect timing, here's the train. Let's jump on board, shall we, and see how this train works. So we're up on the top level. We've just stopped at Crystal Cove Heights station, and now we're going to duck into this tunnel, and this is the top level of a triple helix, which you saw in the montage. Some very, very, very beautiful views up here. I love this triple helix. I mean, how could you not? And the views down to the oil refinery are just glorious. Now, you may think, well, okay, you're on this triple helix. Like, what? That's just going to take you down to the dock. Oh no, because we've got a little bit of sneaky going on. Oh yes. Look. Oh look. Oh, hang on a second. We've got a bit of a diversion here. Yes, we can sneak off to the left here, and this tunnel takes us down directly to Crystal Cove. It's not a particularly long tunnel. And here we are. Boom. Into Crystal Cove Station. How sneaky and convenient is that? I love that. When I started working on the triple helix, it suddenly occurred to me that that we could just add this in, this little line going up to the back level. This is actually a 2.5 helix, really, and it just goes to the top level at the back, and then just runs around here. Oh, that was me. That was me. Somebody messaging me. Sorry about that. So yeah, that's that. And then of course, look at these summers. They just look so good. And then we've got the triple helix. Now, when I put the triple helix in initially, oh, and that's perfect blooming time. We've got a train. We've got the good Woof Woof Express. Perfect. Good timing, Woof Woof. He's a good Woof Woof. When I first put this in, it didn't look, I mean, it looked okay. I mean, it looked pretty good, to be fair. It looked pretty good. But it didn't look awesome. And then I spent a lot of time putting in all of these retaining walls everywhere. And I think that now it looks really, really good. I've impressed myself. And let's face it, that's not hard, I know. But yeah, once you add in these retaining walls, it just gets that clean look. I've argued with myself about whether I should soften that back a little bit. And looking at it now, I'm thinking, yeah, probably I should. But this, I mean, riding on this triple helix is just so much fun. And because of the length of the trains, you see the last bit of the train going in to that tunnel as this is coming out of this tunnel. And the same on the top. And you can see obviously the train on the other half of the helix. It's it's very cool actually. I like it a lot. So there you go. That's the train whizzing up the helix. And to be honest, it kind of doesn't matter which way you look at the cove. I think it looks good. Which I like, as I said earlier, when I like after the stream, I was really concerned that this wasn't gonna look like good, or good enough. I thought it might look okay, but I have to say this has met my probably my wildest expectations of how good this could look. Do I think it could stand a little bit more work? I think it could look better than it does now. I'm just not sure what I would have to do to make it look better than it does now. Obviously, the town up here needs to fill out first. Once I see that, I might do a little bit more tinkering here. I don't know. I'm not sure exactly what I would do. I did put in, and this is why I've been kind of stuck with the train. Or rather, I've stuck with the train because I wanted to show you this. I put in this little viewing area up here. So I deliberately got the train to go lower along here to retain the aesthetic beauty. When you're up here, it's on the other side of the station, you've got this little viewing platform where people can go and look at the incredible views. Let's hop off the train for a second, and so you can come out to this viewing platform and just look at the glorious views, uninterrupted by the trains. But of course, if you're a train spotter, then you go down to this end and you can watch the trains going by, which is what we'd all do, obviously. So yeah, these retaining walls, I love them. And there's about 5 or 6 different textures for this wall asset. So definitely going to get some more use out of that as we go on. And then I thought we needed something to we needed a bit of a feature on the top. So I added in this hotel, this little Crystal Cove Hotel. And look at this, got a swimming pool and everything. What more could you possibly want? They've even imported a couple of palm trees. Loving it, loving it. So there you go, guys. That is Crystal Cove. And at some point, we will do the full run on the trains going from Crystal Cove all the way to Hamilton. And you can see that there are a couple of things going on up there. Well, but if you want to see those, well, you're going to have to come back for future episodes. Yes, in the distance, there is the huge port of As Longeles. And beyond that, there's the oil refinery. Yep, all this oil is being shipped off to a huge oil refinery. That will be the next episode. If you want to see that, come back. I'll see you for that. Thanks for watching. I hope you enjoyed it. I'll catch you for the next one. Peace out.